Awesome. Cool. Hey, Austin. Not sure what happened, but as soon as I hit record, Zoom just crashed on me. So that's I think I started that.
Oh no.
Yeah, but we're good now. Cool. We'll do some intros here in a moment. Paul said not able to respond with Mike, but no worries. Or hey Tim,
Hey, PK, how's it going?
what's going on? We also have Dave, Gabby, and Austin from our end on the line as well. So
What's happening, everybody?
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
cool. And then Paul in the chat. If you could just type in what brewery you're with, that would be awesome. Bobby, you said Honor Brewing, so cool. And then Jeremy, yeah, you want to give your quick intro to the rest of the team here?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm just starting a business looking to help craft breweries use data and analytics a little different than they do today. So interested to see what you'd be talking about on this call.
Nice. Sweet. Yeah, cool. And then Paul, currently brewery and planning, working on build out now. That's awesome. Yeah, looking forward to chatting more about this. We'll give it another minute or two to get other people on, whoever else is going to join, and then we'll get going. Jeremy, are you currently working with any Beer 30 customers?
Sorry, I was on mute. Not Beer 30 currently.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So for everybody's awareness, like this is our second Ask Me Anything. So it's been really fun. Last one was focusing on, ended up being a combination of brew process and some accounting and some sales questions. So really good one there. Austin's posted that onto the YouTube channel. So if anybody wants to catch that, more than welcome to do so. And we'll do a similar thing here today, which is that we'll record this and post this on the YouTube channel. So that way people that aren't available can also check things out. There isn't necessarily an agenda per se. It's really designed to be open-ended. We did have one or two questions that people did email in that we can look at as well, based on timing, but really a bit more open-ended. So yeah, Jeremy, Paul, Bobby, Tim, if you have particular questions about either the way the Beer 30 sales and distro module works, or if you have specific use cases in your end as well, happy to go into it, give some feedback on it. And as always, we can always do additional trainings. Gabby, who is on as our head of customer experience. Dave is our senior customer experience specialist. He also used to work as previous brewmaster at 49th State and Anchorage Brewing. And Austin is our marketing specialist. So got some awesome people on the line to help out with follow-ups as well. Cool. And we got one more joining in. Hey, Lockie. You there?
Hey mate, how are you?
Hey, all good. Just giving some introductions out. If you could give your quick intro as well, Lockie, that'd be great. And the brewery that you're with.
Yeah, cool. My name's Lockie Barter. I work for Fox Friday over in Oz, and I head up the sales team for us.
Yeah, cool, awesome. Yeah, right. So pretty much open forum, like I mentioned. Questions, things. This is again just designed to have people learn from each other. So yeah.
I was going to let some of the brewery guys ask first, but
No, Jeremy, go for it, man. It's all good.
sure. Yeah, I have some. Just kind of as somebody who's currently starting my own business, just a few questions on when you were brand new to the space. what did you find effective on how to get in front of some of your first clients or customers?
That's a great question. So I started off the business in October 2017 in San Diego. And really the original idea with the fifth ingredient was to go around and travel and hit up breweries and consult for them. My background, for those of you who don't know, was that I was a process engineer at Ballast Point Brewing in San Diego, really focusing on packaging equipment, bottling, canning, kegging lines, and their commissioning, and the road tech program and nitrogen beer program. And so the original idea was never really about the software. It was really about consulting for breweries. And Jeremy, like I was visiting a brewery, visiting some friends in Toronto and hit up a brewery out there and noticed that when I hit them up to consult, they just had a bunch of paper logs, whiteboards, and spreadsheets while also using another software system that's now one of our competitors. And realized like, oh, there was a need for something on the process side. And then when I got back and started coding on some stuff, started hitting up some breweries in San Diego, just some local breweries that I had a warm introduction to, and just set up meetings with them and asked, hey, like, this is beer 30, this is what I have in mind, would you be open to giving me some feedback? And so spent the first 4 months just driving around San Diego, having meetings throughout with different breweries, getting some beta customers on for free, and then really first paying customer in May of 2018. Yeah,
Cool.
so that's what I would recommend if you're trying to get into this from like that aspect. And we can definitely have a one-off conversation as well, Jeremy, that's more specific if you have like
Sure.
detailed questions about that as well, for sure.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Roger, welcome.
Hey, thanks. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late.
You're good. You want to give your quick introduction for the people on the call?
Sure. My name is Roger Wood. I'm owner and head brewer at Binary Brewing in Beaverton, Oregon. We're about on track for about 500 barrels this year. We got a little brew pub and doing distribution throughout Oregon and Washington.
Solid. Cool. Bobby, it looked like you had a question as well that you were about to ask.
Yeah, so we just got up and running with it. We've got we're building a 45,000 square foot facility, getting ready to process a lot of beer. We're doing it a little backwards. We're going all in on the facility and then working distro. Right now, we're probably at a point where we're doing 15,000 CEs a year right now. But our goal is to scale it, and our hope is to use the software to do that. A lot with planning, and the brewers are working their side of it. I'm working the sales side of it. So we did have a few questions. We had a little bit of an onboarding this morning, but I had some follow-up stuff that you guys might be able to help out with. What are the best practices for tracking samples for the sales team in Beer 30?
Awesome. Great question. So can you all see my screen with Beer 30 pulled up?
Yeah.
So there's multiple ways to do this, but usually what we suggest is in the distribution hub, you can actually have multiple target locations that are here. And so what you could actually do is, pretty much for everybody's awareness, the idea behind these locations is that you can allocate different amounts of product to different warehouses and locations. And so, Bobby, what you could do is if you go to the tools section, go to distribution, distro locations, we can go ahead and like right now I am, let's say the brewery is in Australia. And we could add in a brewery location known as samples and like sales samples or something, call it whatever you want, and that'll become an actual location. And now when I go back to my distro hub, you'll see that there is a sales sample location that's currently empty. And so you can then go ahead and hit the move items button, and I can then move from my cold box to sales sample. And I can say, great, hey, we're going to have 10 cases of the brown sugar ale. And we're gonna have whatever 1 sixtel of the Japanese IPA. I can then move that into this particular location. And now as the sales team goes in and sees what they have available, they'll be able to see the actual stock that's there. And then the next step from there, what I'd recommend, Bobby, is depending on where you are. So Lockie, in your case for Australia, I don't know if that's considered to be taxable or non-taxable from a sales perspective, but you could then even figure out if you want to make that bonded versus unbonded, or if you then want to do something like moving it from the sales sample to either deplete, consume, remove, destroy. And those have different implications based off of taxable or non-taxable. And you could, in effect, Bobby, just have them destroy it, remove it. If you wanted to, another way to also deplete it is to make a sales order. And you could make like a sales order to a customer that you create called like samples, or maybe it's like Bobby the sales rep, PK the sales rep, whoever, and then they can then sell it to themselves at either $0 or at cost. That way you're also available to then track that in the sales reports as well.
Sweet. That's helpful. I have another one, but I'll let anybody else pipe up first if they had anything else.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I've got one about pricing and stuff, price
Yeah.
sheets, if that's acceptable. So in puttering around in there, we just moved away from our distributor, and now we're going to go self-distro. So I've been playing around with the price list a little bit, but we also needed to raise our prices a bit due to materials costs and so forth, economics being what it is. Is there a way to automatically adjust multiple prices in the sheets, or do I have to go through item by item all the way through? So I got kind of two scenarios, PK. One of them is, let's say that I've got a default price list and I've set that to be my retail pricing. Then I'll have a distributor one that you've got there, for instance. And distributor one is always going to be 30% off of retail. I might have distributor two who's only 20% off. And what I've gone through now and done is just set them all up manually. But it'd be interesting when I now need to jack up the price of a keg, or by say $2 in the case by 50 cents or something, to do that on the default list and have the percentages just cascade through those other lists instead of having to go through item by item and multiple price lists.
Yeah. At this point, Roger, all of that is manual. The way it is set up, though, is your default price sheet is always the base. So
Right.
a workaround that you could do in theory is update the default pricing, and again, so I'm going to decouple this into two things. One is your point about let's say the multiplier of like saying, cool, like add everything up by 0.30, so like times everything by times everything by 0.70, right? To get 70%. It's like a really good feature request that we could definitely look at. Another feature request could be even just somewhere on that price sheet as well, is something up here, which is like, hey, just plus on a dollar level, and just say something like, cool, like plus all the kegs by $2 plus all the cans by 50 cents. So I think those are two separate feature requests. And then I think
I think the second one would be good on the default, and then have the percentage affect the ones that are dependent on it. But yeah, I agree with you. That's two separate things.
You're thinking then at that point, like if I update the default, I could then go into here and create a new price sheet, call it distributor one, September 1, 2023. And then that's the pricing effective as of September 1, and say something like, cool, I want it to be 30% off. So I want it to be multiplied by 0.70 for that particular price sheet. And then similarly with, distributor two, if they're 20% off, be like, hey, multiply that all out by 0.80. Yeah. That's a great feedback. Yeah, that's a really good feature request. I think for right now, just so everybody's aware, the way you would have to do this is you could go ahead and make the changes to the default. You could then pretty much create the new price sheet. It's going to import in all of the quantities that are in the default pricing. And then from there, you'd have to hit the little pencil next to that. You'd actually open it up, and then you'd actually make the tweaks as needed into here, and then save it. And that would be the new pricing sheet.
Yeah, what I found, I already had them, so I just went in and I knew what the math was going to be to have the new price at that disty list. So I just went ahead and edited those. And one nice thing is that on the screen, at least, when you open a line for editing, it leaves it open. And so I was able to just kind of go down the list and click them all open, then cut and paste down the line. So I figured out a way to simplify it as it is.
Yeah.
But that was a good byproduct. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah. It's a good feature request for sure. Definitely
Okay.
worth considering with it.
Hey, Roger, I have a couple follow-up questions to that, if I could. How many SKUs do you have? Like, how many brands and package sizes do you have currently?
I'll go count them in a minute. I've got basically 3 package sizes, 50 liter, 20 liter, and case. And then I'll count the number of brands. Being small, we do fast cycles on a bunch of them. We've got flagships, we've probably got 5 or 6. And then we've got others that are either seasonal, come and go, or sometimes they're one-offs. But then they add up on the price list there. So
and do you price them, like when you update pricing intermittently? Are they within like certain brand groups? Is it like cores would all go up by a quarter a case, or seasonals would all go up by a quarter a case, or like IPAs would all go up by $5 a keg? Like could they be categorized and increase decrease that way, or is it going to be brand by brand where you're making that assessment?
Currently, we've got kind of 3 price tiers, right? So we've got a pub ale, it's basically a cream ale that's pretty cheap to make, and so we price it really cheap so we can sell it into 5 bars. And then we've got some expensive ones that are generally the hazy IPAs or other ingredient heavy beers, and then our standard pricing for pretty much everything else, and they subsidize each other if there are variances.
Sure.
So, and again, those might, we can dive into it offline and kind of use cases and things like that. But there are certainly some paths we could go down to automate some of those and make simpler dependencies and so forth.
Yeah, sounds good. I've got a separate customer that's really large that we signed on recently that has like 16 different distributors, 16 different price sheets, 200 different SKUs, and they're updating him once or twice a year, but it's all by brand group. Like you said, your tiers, right? They have maybe 8 tiers: core tier, hazy 1, hazy 2, hazy 3, seasonal, imperial, barrel aged. And so I'm kind of going down that feature request path with them to like update by tiers or categories. So, let's talk about it offline. Individual, see how that could help you maybe too. And I can't make any promises there, but just
of course,
working on.
I do want to point out one of the cool things about the Ask Me Anything audience here is, like Bobby or Tim, Heath, in your case, or Lockie, do you have similar ideas for that feature request that Roger has talked about? Because this is a great way to think about, like, to Dave's question. Do you, like Bobby at Honor or Lockie at Fox Friday or Tim at Other Half, do you have the similar aspect of multiple, let's say, brand groupings that all increase, decrease at different times of the year, or based off of the packaging sizes? Because it'd be great to get feedback from the other ones on the call as well about the same question that Dave just asked. Feel free to unmute and just chime in.
I'd say we do a little bit of, we actually don't price tweak much. I think it's just a nature of already being on the high end of the price tier. We can't really go higher. So we do a little bit of wholesale incentivizing, but that's about it. And that's limited to just a very small subset. So probably core 4 out of a SKU list of 300 plus.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, we're going through a whole price revamp because we went from contract brewing most of our stuff to being able to brew it in-house. So our margins changed a little bit. So we're actually decreasing price slightly. And then with different distributors, we're currently with 2 different distributors, getting ready to sign a 3rd, and each distributor has us at a different price, even though some of them are in the same state, and we're getting them for the beer the same price. So yeah, there's some variables there for us.
Cool. One of the other cool things that I'll point out is in our new workflow as a company, back in mid-June, we actually hired a senior product manager, Cole Schumacher, who some of you have met already. And so one of the cool things that we're doing as part of these new feature requests that go out there is, if we know what breweries are tagged in on it as part of the feature request, we're also then reaching out to them with just some one-off questions about like, hey, this is our proposed workflow. What do you think, to be able to get feedback? And so that's one of the cool things about these Ask Me Anything, then these community style events, is that it allows you all to also interact with one another and not just go necessarily through the Beer 30 team, but also ask how each of you do your own business as well. So just pointing that out. And, as we kind of log in this feature request, as Dave mentioned, we'll definitely follow up with some more questions tied in with that as well. Awesome. Great discussion point, Roger. Tim, going down the room, you got a question on your end or anything you want to dive in on?
No, I was curious just to hear some of the dialogue and see some of these screens I hadn't seen in a while.
Yeah, for sure. If there's any in particular, Tim, like more than happy to dive in on. Are you at this point, are you familiar with GP Analytics and kind of how that one operates? And is that something that you're using?
I am not familiar. No, we're not using that one currently.
Does Craft Portal ring a bell at all to you? Or VIP?
Yes, that one does.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's actually a good segue. I'll spend a few minutes talking about that. Does anybody else on the call use Craft Portal or GP Analytics? No. So as you start getting into distributors, this is actually one of our integrations that is pretty awesome actually. So all of our integrations are pretty awesome, but this one in particular is really awesome. Ties in with the Craft Portal company, and so I'll just zoom in a little bit. And so the really cool thing about this Craft Portal is that it allows distributors to actually see real-time inventory that's available in Beer 30. And the distributors can log into Craft Portal directly, make the sales orders in Craft Portal, which then syncs into the Beer 30 side as Beer 30 orders that can then be added in with batch codes that can be tied in with different pick slips, packing lists, sales orders, invoices, and those can then sync over directly with QuickBooks Online or Xero through the Beer 30 distro side. And so this Craft Portal, we actually worked in collaboration with Kona Brewing Hawaii to really put this together. And it pretty much is a loop where Beer 30 has the data that pushes over to Craft Portal, have the order portal there, which then ties in with VIP data. For at least the US people on the call, VIP, Vermont Information Processing, very powerful data sets there when it comes to actually knowing where beers are going in the market. So very awesome distribution sales info. And then being able to utilize that where Craft Portal has its own algorithms for sales order and forecasting, which can then be utilized to feed into the Beer 30 demand planning module. And so it ties in with this loop there. So Tim, if you're familiar with Craft Portal and VIP, this becomes a really awesome perspective of being able to take some of that data and then have that link in together. Where on the Beer 30 side, and I'll zoom in on this as well, on the Beer 30 side, from a distro perspective, when you actually get into GP Analytics, you're able to then start looking at the multiple warehouses, the finished goods, the item codes, things like that, and be able to then track and see where those orders are going. And with GP Analytics, we actually have a two-way sync as well. And so that way, if you make an order adjustment, Tim, for example, in Beer 30, that would then sync over into Craft Portal as an adjustment as well. So that way distributors are always seeing that real-time inventory status. And so as you start thinking about these increases to distributors, Roger, you're talking about, you're self-distroing, but even then, if you want to help streamline some of the workflow with the distributors that are making orders, instead of them giving you a phone call or an email, Craft Portal could be a really good way to approach that and get better insights for how your data is being utilized.
Cool. Yeah, I'll look into that. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, and we're happy to make some introductions as well to the Craft Portal team. Again, with any of these integration partners, GP, Carton Cloud, OFS for packaging downtime, Precision Fermentation for tank monitoring and fermentation monitoring, Firmly for lab services in the US, Firmacraft for tank monitoring as well, FinTech and iControl for sales orders in the US, and then Plato as well for the tank monitoring and fermentation monitoring. We're happy to make introductions to anybody that you need. Yeah. Tim, does that give you a pretty cool workflow idea of Craft Portal and GP?
It does. Thank you. So what are you recommending on your end for segmenting out what of available inventory is visible to specific distributors?
Great question, Tim. It actually ties in with Bobby's question earlier, which was with the sales samples bucket that we create. You would actually just, in that case, Tim, create as many different buckets as you'd like in terms of those distributors. And then the way the GP is set up here is each of those buckets are listed as warehouses. So literally I could have the sales sample one that I created on this call for Bobby. I could have that be one of those distributor ones that has a GP analytics ID. And then Tim, they would only see the stock that's available in that particular bucket based off of how they set it up in Craft Portal.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, so it really helps some of that visibility. And I think as a whole, everyone, the whole purpose of the way we built the distro hub with these locations is so that way people aren't over committing on product that's there. So a use case that I've actually seen some people do is, like, for example, on the tap room side, they'll go ahead and create a tap room as a location and allocate stock just for the tap room, even if it's sitting in the same cold box or parts of the cold box, right? So it comes down to using these locations strategically to be able to come up with, hey, how much do you want to allocate where? Yeah, great question, Tim. And yeah, good segue into GP. Lockie, anything on your end?
No, I was very much like Tim and just wanted to join in, just
cool.
have a listen to everyone's comments and questions.
Yeah, awesome, man. Always happy to have you on. Bobby, I think you said you had a couple more. Let's spin through it. Paul, I know you're not speaking at the moment on mic, but if you want to even chuck in questions in the chat, you're more than welcome to do so, Paul, and I'm happy to read them out loud and answer them as well. But yeah, Bobby, go for it.
Yeah, I had another one. It was, can we allocate finished goods to certain customers to allow our sales reps to know how much we are able to send to them?
Can you be more specific on the use case of what you're thinking of for that? And I can help out with that.
So we've got 3 tasting rooms and 2 distributors that we're going to be moving stuff around. What's the best way for the sales team to grasp what is allocated to go out to the distributor?
Yeah, cool.
Is it simply just the hubs?
Yeah, I would say the hubs is probably the best route as well. So as soon as you package anything in Beer 30, it always goes into our cold box as a starting point. And so cold box will always say, cool, like these are 97 cases just in the cold box. And then that's where you can go all locations and see across all locations what it is, or then create different ones. And then you'll know, hey, it's distributor 1, distributor 2 as the locations. And then, Bobby, the cool thing about that I want to point out is that as you actually make orders, as soon as you make it an open order, even if it's not delivered, it'll then actually deplete that quantity directly from the amount that's in the distro hub. And then if you actually put it as a draft order, that's actually where we get this really cool breakdown here, where you see that there's these like 3 numbers. There's 97 minus 19 and 78. And the cool thing about that, Bobby, is that those 3 numbers are showcasing that you have 97 items on hand, but 19 of them have actually been allocated onto sales orders as drafts, and then there's 78 that are available. And so you can actually see that with a little.
That was a lot to take out of time. Oh, so good.
Hey, Paul, I'm gonna just mute you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Yeah, cool. So here, yeah, so Bobby, that's where you'll notice there's a total allocated and available. And so that also can give you a good visibility to say, oh, hey, like in this use case, I only have 18 kegs of my Japanese IPA, but I have 92 on sales orders that are like allocated for, but aren't officially on open yet because you can't go negative with that. I got to actually have 74 that need to get packaged off. And so this is where you can start using the Beer 30 as a source of truth, where you could then even suggest like, hey, on my schedule side or my dashboard side, I could set a task up and say, hey, Greg, you need to go ahead and order or package off 74 kegs of Japanese IPA in the next couple days, so that way I can actually make all my orders.
Okay. Are you guys putting out, or is there a feature with reporting elements to it, or is it just by running the numbers here?
Can you be more specific on what type of reporting you're looking for?
Like, hey, our lager averaged 400 cases out to this distributor. This is the trend that we're seeing, and this is kind of not only the trend when you would need to brew beer again, but the trend in when they would typically order.
Yeah.
Order trends, I guess.
Yeah, that would be here on the wholesale side under reports, Bobby. And so there's a couple ways to actually break that up. So for example, I could start looking at it for, let's say, the last 2.5 months, and this will then show me what the revenue breakdown is month over month. I could then start grouping it here, like if you want to group by company or group by brand groups, company category and brand groups. And this is where you could have loggers and things, different brand groups that are set up, or you can group it by brand and just see kind of where those brands are trending over time in that setup. You also have account deliveries here where you can pretty much see for any time frame what the data has been month over month for a particular account. And so, Bobby, this is where you have that nice account health status where I could go to Bev Group and I can see if I open up, oh, cool, like this is how the data is trending. Cool, like we have some greens, that's awesome. We have some reds, looks kind of bad that brown sugar is going down in July. But hey, I want to know what that breakdown is further. I can click on it and see what the packaging build is. So you can go 3 layers deep and see what's going on with that account deliveries report as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
PK, would you show the recipe brand grouping, like in recipes group brands?
Yeah, for sure.
That page in particular for like Tim. I don't think Tim's seen this, or people who haven't seen this in a while, because I think this is a super cool tool. You can now group the recipes that you have into brand groups. So yeah, you can see, you could assign something like lager IPA, right? Or if you've got like your broccoli brands, right? All your broccoli brands, you could put those in.
Are you making broccoli brand up right now, or is there actually a broccoli beer on somebody on this call that I'm not aware about?
Tim, do you want to clue in on broccoli?
Oh, so insulted. You don't know the broccoli brand, man.
You must not follow other half on Insta, man.
Can we get a show of hands here? Who knows about this broccoli beer?
I don't know. It sounds pretty sulfury to me.
Tim said we're gonna go on the side quest for a moment. Tim, calling on you, man. Let's go into this broccoli brand for other half. What's this all about?
I mean, it's just, yeah, it's iconic other half. I mean, it was one of our early on hazy IPAs, and then it kind of just kickstarted the whole cartoonish, we call munchies internally. But yeah.
Does it actually have broccoli in it at some point?
No, of course not.
Oh, okay.
Got it. The Green Association, I feel like. I've never actually asked Tim or anybody at other half about it, but that Green Association probably has some other hidden meaning that I'm unaware of. I'm not in the in crowd. I just follow them on Instagram. So regardless, back here. So like you can assign like, yeah, if you wanted to see like how is broccoli as a brand trending, right? Or how is lager trending? How's hazy trending? How's West Coast trending? How's barrel age trending, right? Assign the brand groups, and then you can search for those, filter those out in your sales reports and see how those brands or those styles are trending for your brewery over time, which is pretty powerful information, as I feel like the consumer has a bit of a short attention span at the moment. And so you can get pretty quick data broken down for you on how your different brands or your different styles are trending. Also super helpful if you're doing alternative beverages like seltzers, sodas, other NA products as well. You can assign those brand groups and sort here in sales for it. But we also have now separated out the brewers report, where you can sort that out by brand group, right? So if you want to pull out your NA brands or your sodas from your overall production, you can see that as well. So
yeah, so this is where, like you just saw already, as Dave was talking about it, on the fly, I created broccoli, hazy, flavor, stout, shandy, barrel aging. And now when I go back into this, notice broccoli's right there, shandy's there, lager, stout, that they're all categorized. And then to Dave's point for the brewers report, this was actually a really big request that we had from a number of customers that go outside of the brewing space, beer space, and get into non-alcs, ready to drinks, shandies, whiskeys, things like that, spirits, that now they could actually get into this and pull the start date, end date, and it's actually going to put all the data together. But now I could start looking at just the data for broccoli, or I can then start looking at the data for broccoli and lager together. And so it becomes a really good way to understand how those pieces of information are tying in with the data set that's present.
Yeah, that's awesome. How many of those brand groups can you assign per brand?
1-to-1 at this moment.
Okay.
Yeah, you would have to, if you have like multiple combos, you would have to have it be like broccoli 1, broccoli 2, and then you know what the broccoli 1 versus broccoli 2 indicates. Like that's kind of what I would say. What's the use case, Tim, that you're thinking about with multi-select?
So we currently do something similar now against 2 attributes, one being series, which is kind of what Dave like brought up, is like we have this Munchie series with a bunch of different beers within it that have similar branding, but maybe across different ABV tiers or different style categories. But then we also look at it on a purely style basis. So we kind of have this tagging feature that we use now to filter out either one or the other or a combination of the two.
Yep, awesome.
So I like that. I haven't played with the with that brand group filtering on the brewers report yet, but it looks really cool. Do you have any thoughts? And this probably depends on how many brand groups your customers typically have, but do you have any thoughts for putting a not function in there? Use case might be, I want to see everything but my non-alcoholic, and instead of having to enter them all in. And
nah, you'd have to go through right now and just click on this and just
okay,
click on all the drop downs there, Roger. And
yeah, I could tell that from the UI. I was just wondering if you thought about it.
No, it hadn't come up yet on that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that or
you know me, I think backwards.
Yeah, or enter the NA itself, right, and then work backwards and just subtract out those numbers from the overall report. But
yeah,
either is a little extra work for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool. Nice. Bobby, did you have more on your end?
No, that was it.
Very
Appreciate
cool.
it.
Yeah. Jeremy, did you have more on your end?
I could ask all sorts of questions. If you want to show off some more of your just data dashboard analytics stuff, I'd be interested in seeing that. Maybe the rest of the group would get some value also.
Yeah. I think some of the cool ones that I really like showing off when it comes to this would be, for example, on the distro side, if you're looking at those price sheet aspects, Roger, that we were just talking about, one of my favorite reports is the brand history report, where I can go ahead and I can pull like my brown sugar ale, for example, and I can start seeing exactly how that data has trended batch over batch. Obviously, if you have like your core beers, it becomes really cool to see, like, I've seen this for some customers with like 40, 50, 60 batches of the same beer just over the span of X number of months. And then you can really start seeing what that cost trend looks like. And so from a distro perspective, being able to start seeing how those prices need to go up based off of COGS actually going up or down. So that becomes a really cool one. And then I think as a whole, another really good report that I always like showing is on the scorecard side. And the scorecards right now are more focused in on the processing side. And we do have some that are like total successful deliveries, for example. But the whole purpose of the scorecard is to really give people proper KPI views and seeing who's assigned to those KPI views, how they're trending on a week by week basis. And so this is where, you know, if any of you have particular requests for distro specific scorecards or distro specific week over week trends that you'd like to see on this aspect with targets or averages that you'd like, becomes a really cool really cool view as well. So I think that would be a really good one that I'd emphasize. And then again, I think we also spoke already about the sales side and being able to trend out sales data, looking at week over or month over month for account deliveries and being able to look at that info. So yeah. Yep. Sweet. Good question, Jeremy. I know we have about 10 minutes left on this Ask Me Anything. So any other questions, anything people have? Totally, again, open forum. Oh, cool. Dave or Gabby, anything you want to add from the CX side that we haven't gone into or something that would be cool to chat about?
I know in the last Ask Me Anything, I think we closed just asking, pulling the crowd on any other topics they might be interested to see down the line. So I'd love to hear, I know we didn't ask me anything and we went into kind of whatever was top of mind, but any other like high level topics that folks might be interested in seeing future events.
Yeah, future Ask Me Anything topics, that'd be great. I think right now we were thinking of maybe the September Ask Me Anything, focusing more from the accounting perspective and looking at, questions that people may have about how Beer 30 integrates with QuickBooks Online or Xero. That was one topic that we had in mind, but to Gabby's point, would love to hear if there's other topics that people have in mind.
Yeah, at some point it'd be neat to get into some of the optional features like sensory and quality and CAP and things like that. Right.
Yeah.
I don't have those right now, but it'd be interesting to have more of an in-depth learning than just what I read on the web.
Yeah. That's a good one. We can definitely, I think that could be a good October one, for sure.
I think one of Bobby's questions recently ties into demand planning. And Bobby, if you haven't seen, I did like a 10-minute overview video of demand planning. It's in the knowledge base currently. If you click on your name, Beer 30 knowledge base, demand planning, it's in the settings article there, but it kind of plays into your question about, looking at my sales and my sales forecast. How much do I need to brew to meet that sales forecast? So that could be a potential future AMA as well. I don't want to, bury the headline here, but check out the knowledge base in the meantime, and then we can pop into demand planning. It is a premium module that's priced out by tier, but certainly would help you match your sales team with your production team, how much you need to brew based on your sales forecast.
Yeah, that'd be great because we just did it all on pen and paper 2 days ago, and that was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I've been in your shoes. Yeah, pen and paper, and then spreadsheets and whatever. Cocktail napkins I've got on hand. I think Tim probably saw me do that one too many times. It's painful, but yeah, I would recommend watching the.
Hey, does Tim still actually do that on his end with cocktail napkins right now?
I think he's a little more professional, but I'll let him answer.
Yeah, no, not at all. The phones are for. No taking apps.
Yeah.
Since we have a few minutes, one of the cool things that I'll actually highlight, because I think it ties in nicely with the people on this call, is giving a bit of a teaser. You should have seen the product newsletter go live earlier today about DSD Assist. So this is actually a new integration that we have going live this week, all and ready for BrewCon. By the way, Lockie, are you coming out to BrewCon next week?
No, unfortunately, I won't be making it up there.
Cool. Anybody else from the Fox Friday team?
No, we've got a few things going on in other states, so we unfortunately won't be there.
Fair enough. For everybody's awareness, BrewCon is the big trade show that happens, big brewing conference that happens in Australia every year. Well, first time this year since pre-COVID. So it's gonna be pretty cool. It's happening next week. So I'm actually in Australia right now in Brisbane, getting ready for that one. And so DSD was actually one of the requests, a really cool integration request with one of our bigger breweries in the industry. They're doing, about above 20,000 barrels in like the 2 million plus liter range. And so they really wanted a CRM system that could integrate with Beer 30 in a much better capacity than how our contact manager is, because our contact manager is really like a mini CRM. And so with DSD, what's really cool is being able to actually create customers, journey planning, get the actual user interface, stock availability, freight, notes, tasks, and emails. And so this integration, like I said, is going live later this week, and then getting some beta customers into this and getting some feedback on it. So that could be a cool one to check out and look into as you kind of think about scaling stuff up and looking at more of a CRM approach. So really cool workflow as well. Yeah, so pretty excited about this integration with DSD. Cool. Any other questions? Anything else people have? No? Awesome. Well, real quick, let's just get a photo. Everybody here, I see that Bobby had to hop off, but yeah, totally cool. Tim, Lockie, if you want to turn on your video, you're more than welcome to do so as well.
Smile in the background.
There you go. All right. 1, 2, 3, smile. Nice. Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for hopping on. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to the next one in September.
Cool.
Excellent. Thank you guys for all the information.
Yeah, for
Thanks a
sure.
lot.
Hey, Dave, I'll write up some of my thoughts on that pricing thing, just to capture them for you.
Sounds great. Thanks, Roger.
Yep. Talk to you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Enjoy Brisbane.
Yeah. Cheers, man.
See you, Matt.